I call to order the regular meeting of the Mayor and Board of Trustees of the Village of Burr Ridge for July 8, 2019. Tonight we were supposed to have two celebrities to lead us in the pledge, Ava and Alexa Kupetis of St. Isaac Jogues. However, apparently they made some swimming finals, and that certainly took precedence to tonight. So I have asked Richard Morton to lead us in the pledge.
If you all stand, face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, under God and to the republic for which it stands, under God and indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rich. Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis.
Here.
Trustee Schiappa.
Here.
Trustee Cabeza.
Here.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Mattal. Here. Trustee Model.
Here.
Mayor Grasso.
Here. Before we get started, I wanted to introduce our new village attorney to the board and to the public. Mike Durkin is a 1975 graduate of the University of Illinois at Champaign. He graduated from IIT Chicago-Kent Law School in 1978 and was admitted to the practice of law in the state of Illinois the same year, 1978. He's principally engaged in the fields of municipal law, civil and commercial litigation, labor and employment law, and appellate work. He has a stellar reputation and a long resume. I could read many of the things that apply to Mike, but please, I can assure you that I have the utmost confidence in Mike and his law firm, Storino, Romello, and Durkin. And the board voted Mike to be our new attorney as of last month, and tonight's Mike's first meeting. But one thing I will make a note about Mike, and I told him in all the years I've known him, I didn't know this about him until most recently. Mike was a member of the U.S. Olympic track and field teams in 1976 and in 1980. And a record holder while you were in college?
No longer, yes, but yes, anytime.
And Mike was a victim of politics, Olympic politics, because those of you who were around in 1980 and might remember that President Carter took us out of the 1980 Olympics. So think about preparing for 4 more years after 1976 and then being told you couldn't do it. And that also happened, right?
Yes, it did. Not a big fan of Jimmy Carter's strategy, but it seems like we're involved militarily in Afghanistan these days, so I guess what goes around comes around. So,
So everybody, let's welcome Mike Durkin as our new lawyer. Thank you.
appreciate that. Thank you very much. Look forward to representing you.
There are no presentations or public hearings this evening. Item 4, the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda, discussed by the board, open for public comment, and voted upon during this meeting. 5 minutes. A, approval of the regular board meeting of June 10, 2019. B, receive and file draft of Plan Commission meeting of June 17, 2019. C, receive and file draft of Bicycle Committee meeting of June 19, 2019. 6, ordinances. There are no ordinances. Resolution 7D, adoption of resolution recognizing 35 years of service to the Village of Burr Ridge Public Works Operations Supervisor John Ornament. 8, considerations. E, approval of recommendation to rescind previous board approval for a police department to purchase a copier from IT Savvy of Addison, Illinois, and recommendation to approve agreement for a copier purchase from Proven Business Systems in the amount of $6,550. F, approval of recommendation to award a professional service contract for construction engineering on the 2019 water main replacement projects to Thomas Engineering Group LLC of Aurora, Illinois, in the amount of $68,832.65. G, approval of recommendation to award a professional services contract for design engineering on the Carriageway Subdivision Phase 2 water main replacement project to Thomas Engineering Group LLC of Aurora, Illinois, in the amount of $98,582.72. H, receive and file letter of resignation from part-time records clerk Forrest Tucker, effective June 28, 2019. I, approval of vendor list dated June 24, 2019, in the amount of $365,185.38 for all funds, plus $195,337.61 for payroll, for a grand total of $560,522.99, which includes special expenditures of $11,350 for mosquito abatement by Clark Equipment and $26,052.22 for the German Church Road Sidewalk Project by the Illinois Department of Transportation. J, approval of vendor list dated July 8, 2019, in the amount of $695,596.29 for all funds, plus $192,135.96 for payroll, for a grand total of $887,732.25, which includes special expenditures of $13,875 to Intera Inc. and $519,790.05 to Orange Crush LLC for the 2019 road program. May I have a motion for the following items on the consent agenda? 5, A, B, and C, 7, D, 8E through J.
So moved. Second?
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you. That motion passes. 7A, consideration of resolution appointing Al Paveza as President Pro Tem for a 2-year term expiring May 10, 2021. 1 second, Al. I'll recognize you in a second. We took the occasion to pass this so that Trustee Snyder could be here present tonight. He was unable to make the last meeting. He's here tonight, so we'll take this up. Now the chair recognizes Al.
It appears that there's still a little animosity left over from the previous election, and it also appears that my vote would be contentious, so in hopes that we can have a unanimous vote on someone and consider mainly Burbridge business in the future, I would recommend you rescind my name and appoint Trustee Guy Francis.
Is that a motion?
I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comment? Yes, Guy.
Appreciate Trustee Paveza's willingness to build consensus here at the board level. I admire him for that. Well done. Thank you.
I do too, and I also, Al, thank you for putting yourself forward for this. I think the public should know that Al has served at various times during his long tenure as Mayor Pro Tem from time to time for over 16 years of the 20-something years he's been a trustee.
24.
24 years that he's been a trustee. So more than well qualified in my opinion. I would have the utmost faith in Al being the Mayor Pro Tem, but again, this village hopefully always runs on consensus. And since the consensus of the board is for someone else, I appreciate Al stepping up in the manner in which he did. The other thing that he also recognized is that under Rule 9 of our procedures, that when someone is the subject of a motion such as this, where Mr. Paveza, Trustee Paveza, is the target and is the subject matter of the motion, he or she shall not vote.
Right.
That Rule 9 was violated months ago when the issue of the acting mayor was before this board, and the then acting mayor voted in his favor when he otherwise would have been removed. That was wrong. Al, thank you for recognizing the right way to do things tonight. Yes, Joe?
I want to thank Al for his 24 years of service, and as an individual, he's been outstanding. I appreciate your spirit of cooperation, trying to make us go forward, and having a solid board, all working together, so thank you.
Yes, Anita?
I want to recognize Al for 24 years of service and being such an integral part of the board and all the guidance that he provides us in the meetings.
Okay. Since there's any other comment, since there's consensus as to Guy Francis's nomination to be mayor pro tem, all in favor?
Aye.
That passes. Congratulations, Guy. Next item, 7B, consideration of resolution appointing members of the Economic Development Committee. Doug?
Yes, at the direction of Mayor Grasso, we have put forward a list of members for the Economic Development Committee. You have the applications, information from the new appointees to the commission, to the committee, and also Mayor Grasso has appointed himself as chair of the Economic Development Committee, with Trustee Schiappa as the other village board representative. This is a standing committee of the board, meaning it is not dictated, its membership in terms is not dictated by the municipal code, but rather all members serve at the discretion of the mayor and the village board. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Let's get a motion first to see if it's, can we get a motion to approve the resolution appointing members of the Economic Development Committee?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Yes.
Can you read the full motion? Because I think there's some changes being made related, not just the appointment of people and about Gary being chairman, but there's a key change to how many trustees can serve on this committee. Is that correct?
No, there's no rules or ordinances dictating how many trustees serve on this committee. Traditionally, there have been 2 elected officials on the committee, and I believe there will continue to be 2 elected officials.
That's not how I read it. I saw something about there shall be only 1 trustee. What is the full language?
If you could point us to what you're referring to, maybe you can help us.
I'd like to see the full language maybe on the screen. That would help.
I read something about what Guy was, what Zach's talking about in the follow makeup of the explanation. It's mentioned, but it don't say that it's permanent. It just says that 1 trustee will serve.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Yes.
It's not the resolution.
Yeah, the resolution doesn't provide for any restriction on number of elected officials that can serve in that capacity. There may have been a mention in the staff report that the effect of this resolution would only be 1 trustee assigned under this resolution, but that's not codified or a part of this resolution specifying that moving forward there would be a limitation.
So it must have been in the staff report that I saw it, but I guess the reason I'm asking, I'm the longest serving member of the committee, and Mr. Grasso appointed me to the committee 10 years ago. I don't appear to be on the list, and I'm troubled by that. I have the most experience with the committee. I've done a fine job, brought some great projects to the village, and I don't see why, but for you don't want oversight, you don't want someone there asking questions, but for why you would remove me from the committee after 10 years of service.
The committee, in my opinion, has not done much at all in 10 years that you've been on the committee. There isn't one project development that I can recall when I was mayor nor brought forward since that time. I think it's time for new blood. Since we are in the midst of some development in the village coming forward, specifically the TCF bank property, I thought, and with my history with the village center, I think it would be best that I serve as chairman. In that stead, I decided that I would keep Trustee Schiappa and remove you. Anything else?
I disagree with your statements.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
No.
Trustee Matal?
No.
Trustee Model?
No.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Mayor Grasso.
Yes.
4-3.
4-3 passes. Okay. 7C, consideration of resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement regarding the peer jury program between the Village of Downers Grove and the Village of Burr Ridge.
Yes, I wanted to bring this to the board's attention and to the public's attention. This is a new service being provided by our police department, and I'm personally very proud of what our police department has done in joining and very thankful for Downers Grove for leading the charge. And I'd like Chief Madden to give us a brief overview of the program.
Thank you. Good evening. Actually, the peer jury is, what's new about it is the consortium of towns, being Hinsdale, Clarendon Hills, Oak Brook, and Willowbrook, and Darien, that have participated in creating this peer jury after the program was discontinued by the Downers Grove Township in 2017. So we've been members of peer jury when it was sponsored by Downers Grove Township since the late 90s. And peer jury, basically, in summary, peer jury is a diversion program. It's a juvenile diversion program. It's very effective, in my opinion. And what we do is jurors are selected, peer jurors who are high school students from Hinsdale South, Hinsdale Central, Lyons Township, because Burr Ridge, and in Downers Grove, also Downers Grove High School. So peer jurors, high school students are applying to be part of the peer jury. They're trained. They sign confidentiality agreements. They take the job very seriously. And how the program functions is for those minor offenses, sometimes status offenses of alcohol possession or tobacco possession, and then there are some minor misdemeanor offenses of theft, vandalism, and possession of marijuana, and so on. For first-time offenders, first-time juveniles, if the parents agree, and the officer agrees, and the juvenile agrees, a contract is signed by the parents and the juvenile, and they are forwarded to the peer jury process. What's most effective, in my opinion, is these juvenile offenders stand before their peers, and they're held accountable by their peers, which is a very, very interesting process when you see the questioning that occurs. And it's way more effective than if a police officer questions them or the parents, because the peer jurors take it very, very seriously. We've had great success with the program over the years. I have to give a big thanks to the Village of Downers Grove that stepped up and took over and spearheaded this process and led the process with the village administrator and I attending many meetings to continue this process because it was abruptly stopped in 2017. And if we don't have the peer jury, if we don't have this juvenile diversion program, what we have is either station adjustment with a juvenile officer or village ordinance citation or even a misdemeanor charge. And in my personal opinion, I think it's whatever you could do to keep the kids out of the system is the best way to go. So I'm a big believer in letting the parents handle their son or daughter, but in some cases that doesn't work. So this is a very effective process. I apologize, I don't have recidivism rates. I believe it to be very low in this process because they are first-time offenders. If it happens again, then they get charged. And it's a juvenile petition process. So this intergovernmental agreement is before you tonight. This process it's going to be a local peer jury. It's not going to involve all the police departments in the township, but it is a very effective program. And I'm very happy that we have this opportunity to be part of it. We refer, on the high end, we refer only about 16 cases. That was our highest year back in 2016. And I think during this trial period from January to June, we referred 2. There is a cost involved in the process. The cost for the village is approximately $200 per juvenile, and then the parents have to pay $100 for the process too. So there is some financial obligation on their part as well. So it's a very effective program, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
So Chief, am I correct that the parents actually help play a role here and they get assistance, if you will, from the program as it's run by Downers Grove and the peer jury that sits?
Absolutely. The parents have to be in agreement. If the parents aren't on board, they can't be part of the process. But then the alternatives are presented to the parents. So, yes, sir.
I support the program, and I'm pleased that you've had a lot of success with it. And I feel that we should approve the agreement.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I have a family member that participated in this peer jury system out Downers Grove Township, found it to be very effective. It gives good kids who made a mistake a huge second chance. And peer pressure is a powerful tool, good and bad, but in this way it's used very positively and it turns good kids around so they don't make future mistakes, and I support this 100%.
It's a good peer pressure.
It's a good peer pressure.
It's very, I love watching the process. It's to see how those jurors take it so serious.
Before we go on, unless do any other trustees have any comments? Anybody in the jury? In the jury. See, it's a trial lawyer, excuse me. Anybody in the audience have any comments on this? Yes, come up to the podium, introduce yourself, please.
Yvonne Mayer, Blue Ridge resident. 3 of my children were peer jurors, and I can vouch for the efficacy of the program. I was one of the community members who was very upset when the program was discontinued for financial reasons, and thrilled when Downers Grove took it upon itself to bring it back. So I hope that you all vote for it because it's really a worthwhile program. Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience would like to speak on this topic? Anything else?
Yeah, that's a good point, and much appreciation goes to Downers Grove, but I failed to mention the parents, like Mrs. Mayer, that stepped up to really push to get this this process reopened and reestablished. So, yeah.
Thank you, Ron. With that,
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consideration resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement regarding the peer jury program between the Village of Downers Grove and Village of Blue Ridge.
Second.
Second.
Anita's got the second. Any other comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passed. Thank you very much, Chief. Now we're at 8 considerations, our update regarding stereogenics in Willowbrook, Illinois. Doug?
Thank you. As previously reported, the litigation filed by the DuPage State's Attorney and the Illinois Attorney General is pending in Wheaton and before the 18th Judicial Circuit Court. The next scheduled hearing date is July 18th, 2019. Also, the governor did sign the new state legislation regarding ethylene oxide, establishing the strictest state-level regulations regarding ethylene oxide usage in the United States. More importantly and more recently, on June 24th, Stereogenics filed an application with the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency seeking a permit to reopen one of the 2 buildings in Willowbrook with plans to upgrade the facility to comply with the new legislation. The village staff has met with the EPA, the Attorney General, and the DuPage State's Attorney regarding this application. There is a 90-day review period for the EPA. During that time, they will have a public meeting. We're encouraging them to do that locally, of course. And also, prior to that, we intend to schedule a meeting of our Environmental Quality Commission to review the application and to comment upon that application with any recommendations they may want to forward to the village board. In response to that permit application, and as reported on our website, the sponsors of that legislation, Representatives Durkin and Mazzocchi and Senator Curran, issued a press release stating that Stereogenics, I quote, Stereogenics' poor past performance should guarantee no future permit We do not see how Sterigenics can comply with the new law's strict requirements to ever open its Willowbrook doors again. Mayor Grasso had forwarded a comment to me, also to be published on our website, indicating his agreement with that statement and his appreciation to the sponsors of that legislation, letting their concerns be voiced. Happy to answer any questions regarding any of that or any other things related to the Sterigenics topic.
Okay, thank you, Doug. July 18th, Thursday, court is 9:30 in DuPage County, Wheaton, it's courtroom 2007, Judge Paul Fullerton. It always impresses a board when there's people in the audience, and I can tell you, I believe it impresses a judge when the public shows up. So those of you that have the opportunity, you might want to attend court July 18th. There is settlement talks afoot. I can assure you that Burr Ridge is not part of it at all. But we need to stay resolute and vigilant, and please try to show up on July 18th. Anybody else in comment? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
First of all, can we post that courtroom information on our website so the residents can find it easily?
That will be
in case
done.
they missed the meeting tonight. And secondly, US EPA told us at the last public information forum that we would be expecting new regulations and rules on ethylene oxide emissions. And first it was this summer, and then we were told July. And have we heard anything, Doug?
I'm sorry, regarding,
The new ethylene oxide emission standards from the US EPA?
no, we have not.
But we're still expecting that in July, correct?
Yes.
You heard no-
It just didn't say which year.
I believe they said this summer, and then they said this July, so, okay,
I believe you're correct.
thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. That takes us on to 8B. Consideration of Plan Commission recommendation to deny special use request to permit a wireless service facility, Z04 2019, 10 South 110 Madison Street, Tri-State Fire Protection District. Is the petitioner here? Yes. Do you want to address the board?
Yes.
You may.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, board members. My name is Jim Wargo, and I'm can you hear me okay? My name is Jim Wargo, and I'm an attorney for the Tri-State Fire Protection District. And we are here on the special use petition. Last month, we were before the Plan Commission, there was a recommended denial of 4-3 regarding our request to construct a communications tower at Station 3, which is in Burr Ridge on Madison Street. Obviously, that special use petition comes to the board now for your consideration because that was the Plan Commission is obviously a recommending body. So we're here. The chief, I have Chief Sam Molinaro here with me, Deputy Chief Pat Bren, John Sullivan, who's one of our consultants, and Jay Panazzo, one of our other consultants. So we did I provided the village attorney a letter for myself that looks like was provided to the board. The chief also provided a letter. So we're here to answer any questions because I'm sure the board may have a number of questions, and I know we have members in the audience that were at the hearing and raised a number of concerns, and we're here to address those.
Okay. First of all, let's start with the board. Is there anybody on the board that has any questions? No, you lucked out there.
Well, I don't know if I would talk to him or someone else, but when I was reading some of the backup, I guess there's more than one fire department involved. I think there was 4 or 5. Why is it the Burr Ridge one is the one that needs the tower?
Well, we have 4 fire stations. One of them already has a tower, the one in Willow Springs. So we need a tower at 3 other stations. So we already have approval from DuPage County for the station in Willow, 121, unincorporated DuPage County. We have from the city of Darien, we have a special use. Is it a special use variation? I think it's both. So Burr Ridge is the last one that we need.
So
to
all
complete
of the
net.
all of the fire stations will have these towers?
Yes.
Okay, it's my understanding that the Plan Commission voted to deny this special use request, principally due to diminution of property values and the impact on the properties in Burr Ridge. Am I correct, Doug?
That is correct.
Okay, and I believe Commissioner Stratus is here, and if you nod, did I get that correctly? Okay, that's for the record, we got the nod, that I said that correctly, and that is a basis, council, to deny a special use permit, diminution of property values and impact on the village?
Yes, you list 7 standards in your section 13, section 13K7 of your zoning ordinance. Standard C is no special use shall be recommended by the Plan Commission or approved by the village board unless it is found that C, the special use will not be injurious to the uses and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood in which it is to be located. I believe the Plan Commission focused on standard C. There's another provision that drew some attention at that Plan Commission hearing. That would be standard B, that speaks to the special use will not be detrimental to the or endanger public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare. I would point out, though, that the Federal Telecommunications Act of 1996 preempts local governments from making a determination with respect to the public safety. So you're preempted from anything considering public safety aspects of this tower, but the standard that I mentioned, standard C, with respect to diminishing or impairing property values, is certainly one that you're not preempted on.
And one we can act on.
You can act on that.
For a basis.
An applicant's required to satisfy all 7 of the standards. So if you find that one was not satisfied, that would be the basis for your decision. I'd also like to point out that under state law, since you have a recommendation from your Plan Commission to deny the application, you need a vote of a majority or 4 of the trustees to overturn that.
Okay. I've polled the board beforehand, and I believe there's consensus to support the Plan Commission. If I'm wrong on that, someone speak up on the board right now if I'm correct.
I wasn't polled, and I've got a question also of the petitioner, please.
You may ask a question, sure.
Thank you. When was this approved by the county board? Is this a recent thing? It seems like it's going
June, correct, Sam?
And Willow Springs already approved and built a tower already?
No, Willow Springs has power adjacent to the station. And Darien, the city of Darien, for the station on 24.
Thank you. And my final point is you have alternatives, is my understanding. There are alternatives to this tower that public safety won't be impacted, might not be inexpensive, but you have alternatives. Is that correct or not?
Can you, I'm sorry, Chief, could you get up and just identify yourself? It's just our audio system. I appreciate that very much.
Sam Molinaro, I'm the fire chief at Tri-State. That in fact is true. I'm not going to lie to anybody. It's fiber optics are an option. It's just an option that we can't afford. And secondly, it's an option that we don't control. Fiber optics station to station, if you're interested, I could say it, is over $160,000 a year that we can't pay into perpetuity. That's just a fact. So,
Would the taxpayers then have to absorb that? There'd be an increase, or how would that happen?
to be honest with you, I know that we're, and Jim, you could speak more eloquently about this, we're tax capped.
Right.
So, something is gonna have to be cut somewhere. Cost of labor goes up every year. Unfortunately, the stations are older. They need repair. And we have to cut somewhere, you know.
Pension costs grow up every year.
Every year the pension costs go up.
This was the most.
You know, this wasn't, you know, and I know there's people in the audience don't agree with this, but this wasn't just fly by night, make a decision. We've been planning this for over a year. And, you know, we hired consultants. And I, for one, certainly, and no one on the Tri-State Fire Protection District staff or board would be doing anything even remotely similar to this if we had any idea that there was a health risk to the citizens or the firefighters. Just not true. So that's fact. So, you know, it is what it is. We're here asking for your support. If we don't get it, then we're going to have to look at other alternatives. Just the money's not there. That's it. That's the plain and simple truth. So I don't know what else to say. We're, you know, the village administrator and the assistant village administrator have been very helpful in this process, helped us tremendously. You know, I'm not sure if the board's aware. We initially, when we proposed this, we proposed a 150-foot tower that we wanted to have revenue. I'm here to tell you, we'll do whatever we have to do, whatever limitations you want on that tower, but this is necessary. I don't know how to stress that any simpler than that. This is a necessary thing, and the fact of the matter is we can't pay for fiber optics. So we're going to be stuck with the technology that we have currently that doesn't support the systems that Mayor Grasso was the chairman of the ETSB board for DuPage County, that we have computer-aided dispatch, we have fire station alerting programs that are state-of-the-art. They're just not going to work without having either fiber optics or microwave. That's fact. You know, wait, I'm going to back up. It will work. It's not going to be as reliable. We had a station last year, T1 Lines, the local cable company, was out for over a week. It's people's lives dependent on that. So, you know, I wish there was some other way to explain it easier. I wish there was another choice. There's just not. We have to live within our budget. That's what we have to do. So, I would hope that you would consider that. Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Anybody else on the board have any comments? Can I get a motion on
Mr. Mayor.
Recommending the denial of the special use request to permit a wireless service facility Z04 2019 10 South 110 Madison Street, Tri-State Fire Protection District?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a question. Yes, from the attorney. If this is denied, do they have an opportunity to come back and amend their ask? I don't know what options there are out there, but I hear the chief's plea, and I certainly respect the resident's position as well. But does he have any other options to come back, or if this is denied, is it done?
Well, it's done for a year under your ordinance. They can't refile a petition for special use for a year if you deny that use. There are other avenues for them to pursue with respect to this petition. They have the right to go to court and have a court determine the issue. But in terms of once the board votes on it, it's final. The board can send it back to the Plan Commission. That's one of your options. Also, but I'm not hearing that they're looking to change anything. I think the height is what they said they need as a minimum, so I don't know what other modifications they could propose. But certainly, Mr. Wargo, if your client wants to amend its application, the board's not taking a final vote tonight, but certainly it would behoove the applicant to let the village know so that it can be remanded back to the plan commission?
As this whole process, we've worked with the village staff, and we have followed their dictates. At this point in time, I don't have anything from staff to ask us to make a modification. As the chief said, we have always been willing to work with the village. And obviously, and I put in my letter, we are a unit of local government, just as Burr Ridge. We're not your standard resident petitioner here. The law, it's a little bit different on how municipal government is going to respond to this. And of course, talk to them blue in the face. You are the board members that will vote on this. But I think you have to give that careful consideration.
So there is a motion and a second to deny the special use request and support the Plan Commission's decision. Are there any other comments on the board? Yes?
Well, I live behind the Tri-State Fire Department. I bought the land about 10 years ago. It was empty land and there was a home on the land. And I let Tri-State come in and train there for a couple of weeks. I felt we had a good neighborly relationship. When they would pull out of the station on an emergency, they normally would just let their lights on, and then if there was a car around, they'd blow the siren. But they would wait until they get out of the neighborhood to blow their siren. That's what I considered neighborly. I bought the land because of the fact of the ambiance, that there are no poles. All of our utilities are underground. So there are not many utility poles. I know all of Devon, the utilities are underground. I know all of Crammel, utilities are underground. And that's part of the essence of living in the village. That we don't want to see poles. So since the Plan Commission meeting held in June, changed their way of coming out of the fire department, blowing their sirens as soon as they pull out of the garage, which is not a neighborly thing to do. I've got calls and emails from everyone that lives around the fire station because they know I live behind the fire station asking me if I hear the same thing. And I do. And I do believe that looking at a pole will diminish the value of my home, the homes around. Because it takes a certain someone to tolerate looking at a pole, and we have to adjust for that in pricing. So that's why I believe there's got to be another way. I did call other fire departments in the state. I did talk to the fire chief in Springfield. They told me that they use an antenna system, but it's on top of their tall towers there. Is that something that we can do in the village, where we can put a tower on top of our water tower that's located not far from Tri-State? I'd like to explore other options. I understand the work that they do. When they were practicing in my home, they had left one of the practice bodies in the house. And for fun, I thought I'd be able to pick it up, and there's no way you can pick that up. And I just said that much more appreciation for what the fire department has done. What they do, and what I'm asking them to do, just a little bit more heavy lifting to see if we can come to some other resolution rather than putting a 100-foot pole in our neighborhood.
Okay, so again, there is a motion before the board that's been seconded to deny the special use and support the Plan Commission's recommendation. So a vote for yes would deny the special use.
I have a question. It's my understanding from Administrator Pollock that this is going to be a recommendation to staff. You do have to prepare a written statement and findings. So this will come back to the board in the future.
2 weeks or something?
Yes, 2 weeks, yes.
Okay. So thank you for correcting that. So it is a to deny and direct staff accordingly, and it'll be up for another vote in 2 weeks. This would be the first step.
Yes, sir.
So this would not be a final vote?
This is not the final vote tonight, so this is a recommendation to staff to prepare a report and paperwork denying the application.
In the meantime, can we reach out to staff? Is that?
Always okay.
Yes, that's what I alluded to earlier, Jim,
Okay.
was that there's still 2 weeks, but once it comes back and it's voted on, obviously, we're in a different forum.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Wargo, appreciate it. Roll call, please.
Trustee Skiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes, and it's the recommendation of the board to direct staff to prepare a report to deny the special use request of Tri-State to build the town. Okay, that takes us to Well, this board certainly knows how to clear a room. 8C, consideration of amendments to Chapter 2, Section 2.67 of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code pertaining to rules of order for village board meetings. Doug, this is the clarification for the current form of agenda.
Yes, the municipal code outlines, provides some guidelines for the order of items on the village board's agenda. Mayor Grasso and I have worked together to try to refine that. I have noticed over the years a lot of confusion and inconsistencies, particularly in regards to when residents speak, when non-residents speak, et cetera. So it was our goal to try to clean that up a little bit, to try to add some efficiency to the meetings, but at the same time maintain or improve our transparency and residents, non-residents, public's ability to speak at at village board meetings. So one of the first items that you'll notice that we had changed was to put a paragraph, kind of a disclaimer on the front page, stating that prior to voting on each agenda item, the mayor will invite public comment on that item. The mayor also will invite any person in attendance to address the board on any other item of concern under Section 9, public comments. And the speaker addressing the board of trustees is asked to limit her or his comments to 5 minutes. You'll recall at times there was confusion about whether someone should speak on it while the agenda item is before you, or whether they should speak under public comments or resident comments. This attempts to clarify that. With that in mind, we also consolidated the times for the public to comment on non-agenda items and moved that to the end of the agenda so that the village board could first finish the business that's on the agenda before listening to and taking on any other issues that are brought up that are not on the agenda. So we consolidated those 3 sections of resident comments and non-resident comments to one section of public comments near the end of the agenda. We also added at the beginning presentations and public hearings. That really isn't a change, but just what I feel is a more organized manner of presenting the agenda. And also there was a redundancy at the end of the agenda where considerations, there was other considerations for announcement, deliberation, and/or discussion, but also there were reports and communications from village officials, and that was just redundant. No one ever quite knew which category they were supposed to speak under, so we just eliminated one and kept the other one. So again, it's just some, what I would consider house cleaning items, and just to kind of, as I said, create some more efficiency in our agenda formats and maintain the ability of the public to participate.
Thank you. And also you'll note that under the consent agenda announcement, I've added the phrase discussed by the board, open for public comment and voted upon during this meeting, so that it was clear what would happen if something was removed from the consent agenda. So those are the professed deficiencies. And if anybody, I'd like to get a motion, first of all, on this item to direct staff for the amendment to prepare an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Section 2.67, in essence, to be consistent with our current agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Yes.
So last time this was modified, might have been 3 or 4 years ago, when we added the resident comment section and the non-resident comment section, there was some dissent over that, and I voted against that. I opposed that because I felt we should be segregating residents and non-residents into citizens who can speak. But I feel that this clarifies when they can speak, gives them the option to speak on the agenda item when it's being discussed before the board, which is most appropriate, I believe. So with that in mind, I would support these changes.
Anyone else? Yes?
Yes, I agree that this was much needed, and I wish that this had been done before. I did not have the chance to vote on it. I echo your comments about breaking out residents and non-residents. I thought it was inappropriate. It was also very confusing. So I support you on this, Mayor Grasso, and I'm pleased to see the change.
Anybody else? Okay, roll call, please.
Trustee Model?
Yes.
Trustee Snyder?
Yes.
Trustee Paveza?
Yes.
Trustee Schiappa?
Yes.
Trustee Francis?
Yes?
Trustee Matal?
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes. Thank you. 8D, consideration of staff recommendation to direct the Plan Commission to consider amendments to the zoning ordinance regarding short-term rentals, home occupations, and similar land use regulations. Doug?
Yes, I'd like to real briefly ask Evan to just kind of give an overview of what we would be looking at. All we're doing here is asking the board to give direction to the Plan Commission to begin a process of reviewing certain zoning regulations and then to come back to the village board with recommendations. Evan?
Thank you, Doug. That's correct. This is a request to begin a zoning review process regarding short-term rentals, home occupations, and other similar type industries that are currently unclearly regulated by the village zoning ordinance. In past years, the village staff has received an increasing number of complaints regarding the use of Airbnb and car rental services such as Turo. Basically what happens is you own your home, you could put it on Airbnb to advertise it for a few $100s a night, or if you own a vehicle, you could put it on a site like Turo and advertise that being used for another fee per day or whatever the term might be. This causes some conflict with the zoning ordinance as to when a home is being used for use as for a single-family residence, but then also as a home occupation. Right now, home occupations are very strictly defined, very clearly defined, but at the same time, it's not always clear when a home is being used for a home occupation or a single-family rental. The same can be said for a vehicle. If you own a vehicle and you use it every day, but you park it in your driveway, sometimes you may drive it yourself, but other times you may let someone else drive it for a fee. Customers come to your house some days for it, but other days the car acts as just your personal vehicle. It's just property you own. It's not an economic driver by any sense. So there's some, we'll call it just a lack of clarity in terms of what we're allowed to or what we're clearly supposed to be doing in terms of prosecuting these code cases in terms of an enforcement basis. It's not always clear how and when we're able to go after certain violations like this, or at least what it appears to be a certain violation. So what this essentially is asking is the board to direct the Plan Commission to look more closely at this, to provide more clear, more equitable language that can be put in the zoning ordinance, or at least considered, that would create much more clarity for residents, business owners, property owners, homeowners, car owners, who could then know when they're allowed to rent their home and when it would be considered a home occupation or some other violation of the zoning ordinance. Again, the goal here is to create more clarity and a more equitable sense of when property can be used for what purposes. Thank you.
The Airbnb issue, principle. So I think it's a good thing to start looking at. Yes, Guy?
I've had numerous discussions with staff about this topic, and also the residents, concerning the short-term rentals of residential property, and also the rental of cars out of residential properties. So with all good intentions, the Airbnb is you rent it to someone for a night or 2 nights and they have a nice stay while they're visiting some relatives or friends or whatever, then they go on their way. There's no real impact to the residents. The reality is that these are being advertised. Groups from the city are coming out here and they're having parties till all hours of the night, into daylight, outside, inside the premises at the expense of the neighbors. Recently, I received video of a wedding reception at an Airbnb. So now it's being used as a reception venue, much like a convention center, in a purely commercial use. So we have to tighten up our regulations to prevent this at the expense of our residents. We don't want our residents to be burdened with this. Secondly, the car rental business. Yeah, you want to rent out your car. You work 5 days a week downtown, you take the train, your car sits there, you rent it out. That's pretty harmless. But if you have a fleet of cars, 6, 8, 10 cars, you inventory them in your driveway. You have customers come and test drive them up and down your street, all hours of the day and the night. Pick them up and bring them to you. You make negotiations for the car outside, and then you let them on their way. Then they bring it back, and then you somehow service the vehicle. That again is at the expense of the residents. So we need to tighten up our regulations. And I support sending this direction to the Plan Commission for them to further investigate the ordinances. Make that motion.
Thank you. And this is an example of this board getting ahead of an issue, recognizing a actual problem that could be getting worse and wanting to address it before we actually have some damage done. So I appreciate the board supporting this.
I'll second.
Yes?
I know there's a home down the street from me that uses Airbnb, and they have cars parked half on the lawn on the street. There's about anywhere between 6 and 8 cars all around. My question is, how do we police it?
Well, that will all be discussed.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of starting to study this.
Okay.
I think as Guy pointed out, the occasional Airbnb, we get that. There might be a certain sporting event and someone thinks it's a good time to have it. When it becomes a business and a commercial venture, I think that starts to cross the line. So I think we should look at it, give it some consideration, and pass a responsible ordinance that is a balance. So we have, yes?
Just one other comment I wanted to make. We feel strongly at the staff level that our existing codes prohibit short-term rentals, prohibit any kind of commercial use like that of a residential property. But our language isn't modern. It doesn't reflect modern realities of the economy, if you will, and we want to update that to make sure we got it covered.
Yes.
And that was going to be my question to you. If someone is using their home or vehicle as a business, do they need a permit from the village, and do they have to share in on the revenue?
We currently do not require a permit for home occupations because they're very, very limited, and what you can do is basically sit at your dining room table with a computer. It's a home occupation. But anything much beyond that is probably going to violate our home occupation regulations. So we don't require a permit or a license. That's something we'll be looking at. Given modern realities, maybe we should be. Those are all things we'll have to consider.
Right, especially if you're renting your car, how do you know if those people are, careful drivers or take the harm our village?
So we will probably get more and more questions as we look into this, but that's why we're going to start the process now. And we'll have to consult with council and with chief and decide how we're going to handle that. This will get the process started.
Well, right now, your ordinance prohibits customers from going to a home. So as Administrator Powell said, really only permit somebody that's working on a computer, maybe making phone calls, but customers are prohibited from coming up to the doorway, coming and getting a car, from sleeping there. So all of those uses are prohibited under your current ordinance, but apparently people don't realize that, and so they want to clarify that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Trustee Francis.
Yes.
Trustee Model.
Yes.
Trustee Matal.
Yes.
Trustee Snyder.
Yes.
Trustee Cabeza.
Yes.
Trustee Scalpa.
Yes.
6-0.
6-0, the motion passes. Okay, that takes us to item 9. This is item 9, public comment. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board on any topic? Is there any public comment? No public comment. Reports and communications from village officials.
I don't know if that's me.
That's you, huh?
I don't know.
That's a unique way of doing that.
I did have a comment, though.
Okay.
It's something I wanted to report. The board is aware that we had hired sports facility advisors to do a feasibility study for us for the TCF property in downtown Burr Ridge regarding a sports facility. We have received the draft of that report at the staff level. We're currently going through it with internally and with the consultant to make sure that they've got all their numbers right and all their assumptions are correct, but we do expect to publicize that in the near future. And then first act would be to share that with the village board.
Okay, anybody else? Reports or communications? I have a couple. First of all, I guess we'll give a little shout out to the Hinsdale Magazine. But in this article, in this magazine session, we have two great articles. One is about our former longest-serving mayor, Len Ruzak. So if you get an opportunity about what he's done in terms of the Veterans Memorial and donating flagpoles to recognize his 5 brothers who were also in the military. It's a very complimentary article, and I recommend it. The other thing is about Jim Peterick again, and his latest collaboration, but another well-known Burr Ridge resident. So 2 stars in the Hinsdale Magazine from Burr Ridge. Also, hopefully you'll see some improvements in the landscaping at I-55 and Cloverleaf. I've asked to make it look a little bit more colorful within our budget. So we're going to be addressing that, and I'll have some other ideas for the board over the fall as to what we might be able to do to improve that for next summer. Because it's looking a little dull. It's such a great entryway to the village that I think it needs to look a little better next time around. So that's been on my radar, and we're looking at that. That's all I have. So with that, can I get a motion to adjourn? When's our next meeting, Doug?
Next meeting is 2 weeks from tonight, July 22nd, 7 p.m.
So can I get a motion to adjourn to July 22nd at 7 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.